The NVUSD Board of Education is holding a regular board meeting tonight, and we invite participation either remotely or in person. Directions on how to participate via Zoom are available at nvusd.org/board. The open session part of the meeting will begin at around 7 p.m. Okay, next, public comment. Before we go into closed session, the board is available for public comment on closed session agenda items. Ms. Green, do we have any public comment on closed session agenda items?
There is no public comment on closed session agenda items.
Thank you. And seeing that there are none, the board will now adjourn into closed session. Let's go. Hi there. Good evening. My name is Cindy Water, and this is the Napa Valley Unified School District Board of Education. The NVUSD Board of Education is holding a regular board meeting tonight, and we invite participation either remotely or in person. Directions on how to participate via Zoom are available at nvusd.org/board. Interpretation in Spanish is available for tonight's virtual board meeting. Our interpreters are Francisco Mesa and Isidro Mentos. One of the interpreters will now translate the directions on our English channel so our Spanish-speaking families may hear the instructions.
Sí, buenas noches. Esta es una reunión de la Junta de Educación del Distrito Escolar Unificado del Valle de Napa. La reunión de hoy va a tener servicios de interpretación en español. Para poder acceder al canal de interpretación, en un momento van a ver en la parte baja de su pantalla en Zoom el símbolo del globo terráqueo. Por favor, hagan clic ahí y bajo Language Interpretation o interpretación de idioma, elija Spanish o español. Si está en Zoom, en un celular o tableta, busquen tres puntitos que dicen More o Más en la parte de Zoom y haga clic ahí para activar la función de interpretación en español. Gracias. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mesa. Can we please start with an attendance roll call from Vera Morales, Executive Assistant?
Yes. Student Board Member De Reza Cifuentes.
Present.
Trustee Water.
Present.
Trustee Reiser.
Present.
Trustee Shu.
Present.
Trustee Gracia.
Present.
Trustee Jankowicz.
Present.
Trustee Hart.
Present.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares.
Present.
Quorum present. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you all for joining us tonight for our NVUSD board meeting. Let's see, E1, report on closed session. Trustee Chu, do you have a report on closed session agenda items?
I do. Item D1, student discipline. With respect to every item of business to be discussed in closed session pursuant to Ed Code 35146 and 48912:20, Government Code Section 49060 and 49078, and the Family Rights and Privacy Act, USC Section 1232G, Student Matters. A, expulsions. Number 1, the board recommends for the expulsion of student 111-42024A.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Trustee Gracia and a second from Trustee Hart, and we need a roll call vote.
Trustee Water.
Aye.
Trustee Reiser.
Aye.
Trustee Shu.
Aye.
Trustee Gracia.
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz.
Aye.
Trustee Hart.
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 2, the board recommends for the expulsion of student 111-42024B.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from Trustee Gracia, a second from Trustee Hart. We need a roll call vote.
Trustee Water.
Aye.
Trustee Reiser.
Aye.
Trustee Shu.
Aye.
Trustee Gracia.
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz.
Aye.
Trustee Hart.
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 3, the board recommends for the expulsion of student 111-42024C.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion from trustee Gracia, a second from trustee Hart, and we need a roll call vote.
Trustee Water,
Aye.
Trustee Ricer,
Aye.
Trustee Shu,
Aye.
Trustee Gracia,
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz,
Aye.
Trustee Hart,
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you.
And last item, D2A Personnel. In closed session, the board took action to approve the following staff recommendation effective January 13, 2025. On a motion by David Gracia and seconded by myself, Lisa Chu, the board voted 7-0 to appoint Leslie Campoy-Keon to the position of Assistant Principal Temporary at American Canyon High School. The votes were Trustee Water, aye. Trustee Ricer, aye. Trustee Chu, aye. Trustee Gracia, aye. Trustee Jankowicz, aye. Trustee Hart, aye. Trustee Gonzalez Mares, aye.
Thank you.
Ms. Campoy is not here this evening due to some other obligations she had for ACHS, but we congratulate her and excited to have her join the administrative team, even on this temporary basis.
We are indeed. And now we have the flag salute. How about if my old colleague, Mr. Troy Giddings, comes up again?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and here's an announcement. This meeting is live streamed and recorded via Zoom and will be archived on the district YouTube channel. For a detailed review of any meeting agenda item, the archived video can be referenced on the district's webpage at nvusd.org. The process for public comment can also be found on the district's webpage. Now we need the approval of the agenda.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, and, okay, we've got a motion from trustee Gracia, a second from trustee Hart. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and approval of minutes. I think we need one abstention here for October 24th, 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion from trustee Gracia, a second from trustee Hart. Student trustee, were you here at the last meeting? You were. Student trustee, okay. Okay, and all in favor?
Aye.
Do we have any abstentions?
Yes, I abstain.
Okay, and no votes, so it passes. And recognition of visitors and employee organizations, and we've got them.
Yeah, so I want to welcome NVEA President Deb St. Clair and her colleague, our chief negotiator, Troy Giddings. And you have a special presentation for us
We
tonight,
do. I
right?
think they're getting it. Oh, wait.
The presentation.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Good evening, President Waters, trustees, student trustee, Dr. Massetti. Thank you for letting us come and share with you tonight some things that we did within NVA over the primarily last school year, and we just wanted to come and report out our findings. Last school year, NVA applied for a grant from California Teachers Association to pay for our exec board to go and visit every school site with the intention of speaking with every teacher individually or in small groups just to collect data around things that we wanted to know to help strengthen our organization and make things more efficient, put in better systems and structures in place. So we asked all teachers that we were able to speak to the same three questions. so that we could collect, data consistently across all of the sites. We were able to visit all sites within the springtime, and all of my exec board members, we divided up that responsibility equally, so everyone was able, all 10 of my exec board members were able to go out and visit sites and have conversations with teachers. So tonight, what we wanted to do is present to you those findings after we sat down, our exec board sat down, analyzed all of the data to see how we wanted to move forward within our organization, and also how we can help, in areas and share information to you all and to the different divisions that we meet with as well. So these are our findings. Just a quick thing about the goal. These are the goals that CTA does outline for us with the purpose and the intent of funding site visit grants. So we can go on to the next slide, please. So the summary of our data, next slide, please. So overall, when we were talking with and having conversations with teachers, there was this overwhelming sense of strong community amongst the teachers at all sites. That was a very common thread. They appreciated their colleagues and how supportive everyone was. That positive school culture continued to come up over and over again. There was a desire for small class size and a need for more consistent responses to student behavior and discipline. Next slide. Specific concerns that we saw trending throughout all of the data across all sites, across all grade levels, were concerns around cell phones, how to better support our students and implement MTSS with greater fidelity, again, student discipline, and more support for students with higher needs. Next slide, please. Then we also looked at the data across grade level, and some of the common concerns across elementary, again, were lower class sizes and inconsistent MTSS. And again, this was all data in the springtime, around May when we went. The middle school, again, inconsistent responses to behavior and their concerns around using intervention and how to provide intervention for students in different ways. And then at the high school level, again, cell phones, some talk around inconsistent grading practices and just how that varies between class to class or grade level to grade level. And then also, again, the use of intervention time. Next slide, please. So looking at all of that data, our next steps were, next slide, please. The main purpose was, well, there were a couple of main purposes. One was how we structure NVA and the purpose and what we're trying to do to build capacity within the NVA organization. And so looking at our data from that, we decided within exec board to restructure how we do site rep council meetings so that we are addressing some of these needs, but also kind of building on capacity within the sites. So what exec board did was we organized a site rep council boot camp, which was an intensive site rep council training in September, so that they had a good handle, or the purpose or the goal was to have some good foundational information about the contract, how the union kind of works, things like that, so that when we meet throughout the school year, we can be working in collaborative work groups on very specific different agenda or different items. So all of those groups are led. Each group is led by one of our exec board members. So they're becoming more specialized and getting those the site reps in, working in those collaborative work groups to then also help build capacity within our union members, and also get people more buy-in, making people feel like they're more a part of something, as opposed to sitting in site rep meetings hearing about things from us. So we really wanted to make this change to build union capacity. Next slide, please. We also use the data. We are in a contract year this school year, so our contract is open. So a lot of the data that we collected also then helped guide our interest survey that we sent out to union members, all union members, and to site reps to collect from individuals, but also from sites when it came to their interest around what to open up for the contract during this school year. We also broke down the data by individual school site and shared the data from every specific school site with those site reps so that they could then go and have conversations with their administration regarding the things that were of concern on those sites, so that it was, anonymous but collective, so that the administration also knew what was, happening and being said on their sites. Next slide, please. Trey.
So with this data, why is it important and why are we sharing it today, right? It gives us an opportunity. As you know, our union and our school district work hand in hand in many ways, collectively to serve our students. And so with this data, as you've seen, it's not all positive, right? So it gave us an opportunity to have conversations with the school district and gave us a seat at the table so we can look forward to the future of how can we improve our school district, how can we improve learning for kids, and how can we serve our teachers. And so it creates this balance. And when we shared this data with the school district, they responded. And I think you're going to hear later how they're responding to this data because of that open communication and how we work together to make this the best district we can make it for both our teachers, our students, and for our administration and board. So thank you for listening to us about this data and being informed, and that we have the opportunity to inform. And so you'll hear later about what's being done and how the response is from your administration here. So thank you.
Thank you. That's really interesting. That's great. Okay, next we have Students of the Month, my favorite part of the meeting. And first we have Vintage High School and our principal, Principal Hutchinson, is coming up to introduce the students.
Good evening, Dr. Musetti, President Water, and members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity to present our Students of the Month. First, I'll talk about Lucas Henry. Lucas is a senior at Vintage High School who has consistently demonstrated excellence both in the classroom and on the field. Ranked in the top 10% of his class, Lucas has challenged himself with a rigorous academic schedule, taking multiple AP courses throughout his high school career. And this year, he earned the College Board AP Scholar Award with honors, which is a testament to his dedication and intellectual ability. Lucas is known for his strong sense of determination and discipline, which is reflected not only in his academic achievements, but also in his approach to teamwork and leadership. He values collaboration and is always willing to take on additional responsibilities to ensure his peers or his team's success. Whether helping, I should also add his brothers as well. Whether helping direct a group project or encouraging teammates to reach their potential, Lucas leads by example and fosters a sense of camaraderie wherever he goes. His leadership extends to athletics, where Lucas has participated on the Vintage High School football, baseball, and basketball teams. A four-year member of the football team, Lucas played varsity for 3 years and has served as captain for 2 years during his junior and senior year at Vintage. He's also a 2-year varsity baseball player and was part of our basketball program in his freshman year. His commitment to sports mirrors his approach to academics, focused, disciplined, and always supportive of his teammates. On and off the field, Lucas shows respect and kindness to everyone, helping to set a positive tone for the overall school community. As the football season heads into the NCF playoffs this Friday at Liberty High School, we wish Lucas and his team best of luck. And while football will soon conclude, we're excited to see what his accomplishments he will continue to achieve in his senior year and beyond. And his leadership and work ethic will undoubtedly serve him well in whatever comes next. Congratulations, Lucas.
Thank you, Ms. Hutchinson, and thank you to the board and Dr. Musetti for choosing me as Student of the Month. Throughout my educational journey, I've had many people who have helped me put myself in the position I am today. Aside from my parents, none are more important than my kindergarten teacher, Ms. Van Heusen, for providing an amazing first year of school experience and making learning fun and engaging, Mr. Anderson for allowing me to find my creative writing side, Mr. Schmitz for allowing me to figure out how I learn best, and Ms. Breckeisen for creating a fun and safe environment for both years I had her. I'm a student athlete here at Vintage, as you heard. I play football and baseball, and even though I've learned so much about subjects and myself in the classroom, I feel like I've learned even more on the field with my team. School has taught me a work ethic and how to learn, but football has taught me discipline and leadership. One of the hardest things I've learned is how to maintain a student-athlete education. Waking up at 6 a.m. to lift for 45 minutes before coming back home to get ready for school, followed by a 7-hour school day and a 3-hour practice, means spending at least 12 hours a day on my school and sports, not counting homework. These long days taught me the value of prioritization and how to maximize my time the best I can. As I move on to the next chapter of my life, I won't forget all the life skills and traits I acquired here at Vintage High School and on the field. There were days when I felt like classes I took were overwhelming me with workloads. However, I wasn't the only one who had this amount of homework, and in my case, help was within arm's reach. My twin brother also takes rigorous classes and plays the same sports as me. I found security in the fact that my strengths weren't the same as his, and when math was a struggle, he was there to walk me through it. We shared the struggle of student athlete, but we put each other through it. I can't tell you how many times we've saved each other from forgetting about an assignment or practice gear. Additionally, there's a huge competitive aspect to having a twin in the same grade as you who plays the same sports and also takes rigorous classes. I feel like if it wasn't for our brotherly competition to be better than one another, I wouldn't be nearly the student or athlete I am today. I'm incredibly lucky to have put in the position I am today, and I couldn't have done it without the people around me. Thank you.
Okay, and now I get to talk about and present Miroslava Dereza Cifuentes, who we have seated here on the dais as the alternate NVUSD student board member. Miros is a senior at Vintage High School who has excelled in every aspect of her academic and extracurricular life. Ranked in the top 10% of her class, Miros has consistently taken rigorous courses and earned an AP award with distinction. Her academic achievements reflect not only her intelligence, but also her dedication and discipline throughout her high school years. Beyond the classroom, Miros has been an active and engaged member of our school community, participating in various clubs and organizations. She currently serves as the president of the Avid Club, treasurer of both the French Club and BC2M, which is a club dedicated to reducing the stigma around mental health, and is a participant in the Poetry Club, mock trial, and a writing group at Vintage. Miros is also the founder of the Food for Thought Club at Vintage, which organizes food drives and raises awareness about food insecurity in the community. Miros's leadership extends beyond school clubs, and she has been a student representative on Vintage's site council this year, and she serves, as I said, as NVUSD student board member alternate. We are thrilled, and it feels so very fitting this evening that when we get to celebrate her, she is serving in this role here tonight. Miros is deeply committed to public service, a passion she discovered through her early experiences in the AVID program, and her dedication to serving others is evident not only in her school leadership, but also in her involvement outside of school. Miros has volunteered extensively with the Napa County Library in various capacities. She's been a member of the Napa County Youth Advisory Board. Additionally, she has served on Congressman Mike Thompson's Student Leadership Council for 2 years. And she is very excited to continue her work in public service after graduation, and we have no doubt that she will continue to make a positive difference in the lives of those around her. Congratulations, Miros.
Good evening, Dr. Massetti and Board of Education. I am honored to be standing here with you today. I have come a long way since I first entered Napa Valley Unified at Bel Air Park Elementary School back in 2012. Bel Air's unique International Baccalaureate program instilled lifelong curiosity and a passion for learning. I would like to thank Mrs. Van Heusen and Mrs. Burt, as well as all my elementary school teachers, for laying the groundwork to my academic success. Later, when I entered River Middle School, I learned resilience and grit as I adapted to a new environment. At Vintage, my French teacher, Madame Aday, and counselor, Mr. Bravo, have been instrumental as I navigate the college admissions process. Furthermore, Vintage has provided me with the space to find my voice and discover new interests. For example, the AVID program fostered my love for public service. Although I began volunteering as part of an AVID assignment, it quickly became a central part of my identity. From organizing food drives to hosting events at the Napa County Library, it is important to me to give back to communities that have once served me. I hope that through club leadership and other activities, I have also been able to serve the wider NVUSD community as it has served me in helping me to develop into the person I am today. As my high school years come to an end, I recognize the key role NVUSD's dedication to their students has played in my life. In the future, I hope to attend a four-year university and major in political science. Although my career path is not yet set in stone, I know whatever I pursue will be centered around serving underrepresented people. None of this would be possible without the support of my parents. I thank them for always supporting me throughout all my endeavors and teaching me the importance of perseverance and determination. I hope everyone has a great rest of the evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great. All right, and now we have I don't think we've ever had a student board member recognize the student of the month. We did? Not when they were sitting on the dais, yeah, and about time. All right, and now Assistant Principal Biggs from New Tech High will introduce the New Tech Students of the Month.
Yes, good evening, NVUSD Board President Water, Board of Trustees, Dr. Massetti, and community members. Congratulations to the Student of the Month winners from Vintage High School. My name is Andrew Biggs, and I'm the Assistant Principal at New Technology High School. I'm delighted to introduce the New Tech High Students of the Month for November and December. The first New Tech Penguin that I would like to introduce is 12th grade student Cass Lopez, our Student of the Month for November. Cass was selected as the Student of the Month due to being an exemplar of our November value of creativity. Cass is a skilled artist, both in pencil drawings and digital animation. In fact, her current goal is to pursue a career in the field of animation. In addition to her creative skills, she has maintained a GPA above 3.0 and has grown immensely in skill, especially in terms of her comfort with communication throughout her years at New Tech High. Congratulations to Cass. We are so excited to see where your talents take you after graduation. Cass has prepared a statement to share with the board.
Hello, I'm Cass Lopez, and I'm honored to be recognized as Student of the Month for November for New Tech High School. For me, creativity is all about being unique, finding new ways to be creative. I'm grateful for this recognition and opportunity to grow in a supportive environment. And I want to thank my teachers, my friends for this honor.
Thank you. And we have another student.
Yes. Next, it is my pleasure to introduce 10th grade student Owen Smith as the New Tech High Student of the Month for December. Owen was selected by the staff as an example of being caring and community-minded. Though he's only been at New Tech for a year and a half, Owen has already logged 167 hours of community service. To that end, a program manager from the city of Napa that Owen worked with has shared that Owen is selfless, ready to learn, and has a strong positive impact on younger kids in our community. Owen is an empathetic collaborator and problem solver and always puts his full effort behind everything he does. Congratulations to Owen. We're so lucky that you're a New Tech Penguin. And Owen has prepared a statement to share with the board.
Hello, everybody. I'm Owen Smith. I'm incredibly thankful to have been chosen as New Tech Student of the Month for December. I am super appreciative to be a part of the New Tech community, and it's been wonderful being able to build on it and embed myself in it. This school has really allowed me to thrive. It enthuses me and also challenges me. And as a student, I think that flexibility and allowance for growth is an amazing quality for a school to possess, and New Tech really exemplifies that. I'm driven by creative expression more than anything, and I've had plenty of teachers that will allow and endorse me to utilize creativity in my work, which allows me to create a final product that is both more thoughtful and more something of my own. There is also plenty of flexibility surrounding which classes I can choose to take. This allows me to have more control over my needs and my future. And I feel that this school really invests in its students in a way that pushes them in the right direction. For example, I'm really interested in writing and the arts, and there are a lot of opportunities to use those as a tool for my learning. I always try extra hard to be the best student I can be in and out of school hours. When I first entered the school, I would never have known that I'd be here giving this speech today. I'm especially grateful to have met the teachers and friends that I know now, as well as my parents. They've all been my most vital supports, and I could not have been where I am now without them. Once again, thank you so much.
Thank you, Owen. And thank you to the Crushers and Penguins and their families.
You were here for the best part of the meeting, for sure.
Yeah, this is the best part. All righty. Now we're at public comment on non-agenda items. Trustee Chu, did we receive any public comment on non-agenda items from via email?
No public comments on non-agenda items were submitted via email at publiccomment@nvusd.org before 8 a.m. this morning.
All right, thank you. And Dr. Musetti, do we have anyone waiting for public comments?
We do. Public comment online, I see a hand up. Ashley?
Yes.
Ms. Green?
The first speaker is Norma Ortiz. Norma, go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Oh, hi, thank you. Hello, President Waters, board members, student representative, and the community as a whole. My name is Norma Ortiz, a parent and community member. I attended a reading summit yesterday, and it was very informative as it addressed the pillars of literacy: phonics awareness, phonics in general, fluency, vocabulary, and comprehension. I like the motivational component of being a literacy warrior, inspiring, motivating our students side by side by removing ineffective practices based on data, student response, and other. I like that it was discussed that literacy is the road for human progress. On the other hand, NVUSD district and school site executive leadership teams need to create more spaces where all students can feel safe to report any form of bullying, intimidation, harassment, and gang-related threats. As a system, it is important to reassure students that their basic rights are being protected during school time with the proper follow-up to. Encourage students to feel safe reporting the above with who they feel are their trusted adults. Make sure that all the systems don't undermine these efforts and that we praise when the right thing is being done by students when reporting these types of issues and incidents. That students and their families can trust the system because the appropriate action and remedies will take place, not only at the school site level, but also at the district level. Promote open door policies in this regard so that all departments work in collaboration to positively bring change with existing policies and procedures in this respect, and that any possible technicality not get in the way in any stage of the reporting process. I am curious to know who should a student report to in the event that it is perceived that a principal is part of any possible wrongdoing? What is the district's plan of action? On the other hand, I was reading an article that is the title, Conducting School Investigations Step by Step. And part of its excerpts explain the following. A school that investigates incidents properly benefits from increased morale and decreased liability. When allegations are made or an incident occurs, schools and publicly funded districts are responsible for following up before requesting external help. Internal school investigators may be asked to investigate incidents regarding student conduct, safety, security, human resources, teacher misconduct, and more. Conducted properly, school investigations can increase enrollment, decrease liability, improve student learning, raise employee morale, and boost overall school success. Number 5, conducting interviews. Investigators must follow a thorough list of best practices for every interview they conduct. These best practices prevent the investigator from contaminating the interview and the entire investigation process. Interviewing the victim and witness. A school investigator must conduct all investigations in the private place with limited distractions. Victims and witnesses should never be interviewed with the accused nearby, as this can alter.
Thank you, Mrs. Ortiz. It's 3 minutes. Thank you. Do we have any other comments? Ms. Green, do we have any other comments online?
There's no more public comment.
Okay, thank you. All right, and now we are reports, Board of Education and Student Board Representative.
Yes, let me pull it up real quick. As the end of the semester approaches, so have our preparations for holiday festivities around vintage. For example, clubs had the opportunity this week to sign up to adopt a family. This is where we are given a list of items that a low-income family would like to receive for the holidays, and everyone in the club gets together to give them to the family, but we never know who the family is. We also have a giving tree where it's gift cards and you pick them out also for a struggling student or someone in vintage. And we also had Angel Week where we signed up for that this week. This is where it's like a secret Santa for teachers, and this improves teacher-student relationships and helps spread holiday cheer. Also, at the next week will be the end of our school tours for any upcoming freshmen that will be joining us next fall. We have been so glad to have had the opportunity to show off our school and see so many interested students and involved parents that want to know more about vintage. In addition to that, I would like to add that our volleyball team won sections and will be heading to state. And our drama department also finished their fall production of Trapped and are beginning to prepare for their winter show. Some students at New Tech have also shared with me that they have their upcoming Enchanted Garden winter formal on December 7th, the weekend after we get back from Thanksgiving break. In my AP Lit class, funny enough, we're reading Frankenstein, and it's been really interesting to discuss about the impact like one has on others without knowing, and also the ethics of science, as well as the other literary techniques and metaphors that we would typically discuss. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I will share a couple of site visits that I was able to do. I'm starting to begin my tour visiting the middle school campuses. And so I did go to Silverado Middle School, so I do want to thank very much Principal Valerga for hosting such a wonderful tour, especially when you have 3 8th graders being your guide. So it was really the best, and they represented our diverse community. One of them went to Alta Heights for elementary school, McPherson, and Browns Valley. And so it was really neat, and all of them have been there since 6th grade. So it was really neat to get their perspective, because they're also students that have been part of the new leadership at Silverado Middle School. So along with Principal Valerga, they led me the way, and we started the tour and visiting the community room, where they have just the inspiration and aspiration of building that room that is just right at the entrance of the campus. And so we got, a chance to see that. I think my big takeaways was walking, as I was taking the tour, and walking through classrooms, and then ending with milk break there. Just the atmosphere of the campus, and the students really highlighting that to me without me really asking, but just really excited about sharing their pride and joy of that campus. It's always, milk break is always a fun time, because it's just a little bit of everything and so much energy, and it's just so spread out. But we were like navigating that, and we wanted to make our way to the music room because of the funds that came through with that. We got to the tail end of that class, but just really great to be able to see that classroom just full of students putting their stuff away. So we didn't get to listen to anything yet, but that was extraordinary for me to just see that energy in that space. We also took a special visit to one of the LD classes with our newcomer students, and that was really special to my heart. I've shared that here, and this was, and I forget the teacher's last name, but I remember her first name, Irlanda, and she was just really fabulous and just explaining what they were working on that day. But for me to be able to just take a minute of my own personal story and share that with them, that I was in their shoes at 8th grade in this campus. And it feels like it was just yesterday, because it's a story that just continues to repeat in my head. So it was just really, for my own sake, personal, to be able to be there for them, and just to also hear from Principal Valerga what she's doing with the campus in regards to creating a welcoming environment for our newcomers. Really fun to visit the library during milk break, to see it function in different ways. But the other purpose of me visiting Silverado Middle School is, of course, the facilities. So we've been hearing that on for quite a bit, and we're crossing our fingers with results of the elections. But it's really amazing to walk through a campus and feel the energy, but so hard to watch the facilities in the conditions that they're in, and see this, this yellow line kind of like, do not touch this wing. And I was like, I had English class there, and I remember that class there. And we just were able to go in there and just kind of see how all the work is getting done by the team. And so, I'm doing that on purpose, because I want to engrave that in my mind. So when the changes come, we can see what is remember the before and then the after. But there's just so much potential with these facilities, and I'm just really looking forward to what the next steps and what we can do as a board. Makes it really real. And then my next visit was at Redwood Middle School with Principal Harnack. I got to chat actually quite a bit with Assistant Principal Catherine Martin. She's a Redwood Middle School alumni, and she remembers herself, right? It was pretty cool. She's like, I remember, running through this campus, and now, I'm here. And she was remembering actually when she was a kid, that she would see this thermometer measure go up in regards to a bond at the time that was to place ACs, because the schools didn't have ACs in that time. And I'm like, that's probably still the same ACs that bond, was there like 30 years ago that we're trying to replace. It was just a really kind of reality check in terms of that. So it was a really great walkthrough to see the Redwood Middle School campus all in action. Also, again, I got a chance to go and see the movements around milk break and the cafeteria. We stepped into a Math 7 class. They were talking about taxes. And when they purchase something and there's a tax, how do you do the math around that? So really cool to see that. And entered a science class for applied sciences. So just a lot of great energy in our middle schools and just a lot of pride from the students in regards to their school. So I just really appreciated hearing from the students' perspective in that end. And then that kind of in between that was the facilities and tech committee meeting, which made it even more relevant, the conversations that we're having. So I think it's really important as board members that we've always kind of executed in this team that we visit the campuses and not just look at the numbers and the spreadsheets and the papers, but that we actually really see and right what's in front of us. And so, so that was my activities these past couple of weeks. And that concludes my report.
Trustee Hart.
Don't worry, I'll be extra short for you. No worries. All right. So back in October on the 29th, I was able to visit with Principal Dunn at Willow Elementary, which I also have the pleasure of living directly behind. So I get to hear all the really fun, actually, little kid noises that come from the playground and kind of like waft over to my window at night, or not at night, but in the afternoon. But it was a lovely visit. One of the things I really appreciate about Willow, and I like to visit their special needs classroom, and was able to observe in there for a little bit, and see the TV that you touched, the Promethean board, live in action with the kids, and they were learning to trace their letters on the board, and they took turns going through and doing that. And I thought that was like a really neat integration of technology for the kids, and that it looked very effective and it looked very engaging. So I enjoy seeing things like that and understanding how that looks compared to the chalk and things that I experienced back in the 80s in elementary school. On the 6th, I attended the Board Advisory Curriculum and Student Support Committee meeting, which we'll be seeing some reports from that tonight in a little bit, so I won't spoil anything there. And then on the 9th, along with several other trustees here, we attended the 2024 Napa Valley Band Reserve at Memorial Stadium. And even though it was freezing cold, it was really cool to see all the local bands come together. I'm always jealous of the American Canyon Boosters food court, because they have like lumpia and pancit and like all this cool stuff that we don't get here in Napa. So that was awesome to experience. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Hart. Trustee Jankowicz.
I participated in my last facilities assessment meeting. I'd like to say it was comprised of an excellent group of individuals that made substantial contributions to helping our community understand our facilities needs and the lack of funding available to school districts. So an enormous thank you to the collective group. I've had many opportunities over the last month to be heavily engaged with our community. I have met with parent groups from Vichy, Willow, and West Park, as well as individual parents and community members. I appreciate these interactions. I continue to learn from their inquiries. And I would like to recognize those that reach out, are curious, have specific questions about policy, the school board, our district, and take time out of their day to meet and discuss. I participated in the Board Advisory Policy Committee meeting, and you will see the results of that meeting later in the agenda. I attended the coffee with the superintendent at Napa Junction Magnet Elementary. Thank you to all the parents and staff that attended, and a thank you to the NCOE board member, Cindy Biederman, for joining us. I attended by Zoom the NCOE board meeting, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Jankowicz. And now Trustee and President Emeritus Gracia will tell us what he did.
Sure. Thank you, President Water. On the 25th, I attended the Windsor versus Vintage High School football game. On the 1st, I attended the Vintage High School at San Marin game. That was a pretty wild, rainy affair. The rain was coming down in heavy waves, and passing was only possible during brief temporary lulls in the weather. On the 6th, I attended the curriculum committee meeting. On the 8th, the Cardinal Newman versus Vintage High School football game. On the 9th, the Napa Valley Band Reserve, and was able to hand out one of the trophies to the students. It was a great event hosted by the ACHS band. And then on the 12th, I attended the Facilities and Technologies Committee meeting. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Gracia. Trustee Chu.
Yes, so I started out the month going to a couple of football games, including one against Casa Grande, where the football team had a special game to salute to veterans because of Veterans Day later on in that month. And the Napa Sheriff's Department had a helicopter fly over the game during the ceremony, part of the game, so that was awesome. So thank you to Parent Liaison Karina Cerventi for organizing that. On the 2nd, I actually brought my son to a Berkeley Math Tournament along with about 10 other kids in his Mu Alpha Theta Math Club. So it's always great to go visit my alma mater with some prospective students. And on the 9th, I also attended the Napa Valley Band Reserve, organized by the ACHS Band Booster. So thank you to Ruby Alim, the president of the booster, and her executive board, and all the parent volunteers for putting it on. And I also want to highlight that at that game, the parents organized a fundraiser for the booster with a whole bunch of vendors, including TJ Boba Truck, which is owned by an ACHS alum. And she just received the Best of Napa County, a silver medal for the food truck and gold medal for juices and smoothies. So product of our school system.
That's great.
Yes.
That is great.
And on the 11th, I was actually part of the American Canyon Veterans Day ceremony where I got to judge a digital photography contest along with veteran Bob Schwern. And the winners were ACHS students from Jennifer Leahy's class. Really great work. What was real interesting to me then was Bob and I actually had a very similar idea of the theme, which was patriotism. And we both thought to represent patriotism in pictures had to have a flag. And I mentioned to him that, one of the things that we do as a school district is that our students, when they come in, they do a Pledge of Allegiance. And that's their first formal introduction to what patriotism really means. And so that was really nice that we had that collective understanding as we were judging the contest. And then I ended up this, I guess on Wednesday, right, where we had the coffee with the superintendent at Napa Junction. So thank you to Principal Megan De La Mater for hosting that. And that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Chu. And Trustee Reiser.
Thank you. On the 31st, I participated in the Board Advisory Policy Committee, which the recommendations are on today's agenda. On the 6th, the Board Advisory Curriculum Committee met. I also attended the American Canyon Veterans Day ceremony. I was invited by our NCOE colleague Cindy Biederman, who not in her role as NCOE trustee, but as a community member and the founder of ACTS, AC Troop Support. She has been organizing this ceremony, and it was really a pleasure to join the American Canyon community in honoring Veterans Day. And I just wanted to highlight two things. One, the keynote speaker was a really amazing speech, remarks by a veteran of two branches of service, as well as a Bay Area Police Department. Eric Yauk, I believe is his name. And he's retired from the military with injuries, but has pursued 2 master's degrees and is working on a PhD in counseling and is now a mental health provider. And he just gave a really beautiful and moving speech about the importance of taking care of your mental health and helping to remove the stigma, break down the stigma about seeking help for PTSD and other mental health challenges. And just as I was pulling into the parking lot this afternoon to come to this meeting, NPR was talking about the rise. There's new data from now 2023 that they're looking at about veteran suicide, and that rate has risen. And I believe, I wrote it down, but now I can't find the piece of paper that I wrote it down on, but I believe the number was 523 veteran suicides last year in 2023. So that is more than one a day. And the data said that the majority of those were young men who used a firearm. So just doubling down again on my message of the importance of safely storing weapons so that they are not easily accessible to someone who is having a mental health crisis or a desperate moment. So thank you so much to Mr. Yauk for disseminating that message and for the important work that he does serving veterans and the community. And the other shout out from that amazing ceremony that Trustee Biederman organized was we had participation from NVUSD students, the Donaldson Way Elementary students led the crowd in the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the ACMS choir just hit it out of the park with a song at the beginning. They sang the Star Spangled Banner at the beginning in harmony as a middle school choir, and then ended with a really nice medley. And so I was really grateful for their participation as well. And then on the 12th, I went also to Napa Junction Elementary School to the Coffee with the Superintendent. And it's always really a great opportunity to hear from our community, to hear from parents what's on their mind, what they're happy about, what they're concerned about. So that was a really nice opportunity for that, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Reiser. Well, let's see, what did I do? I have been occupied with a new grandchild, so I know I get a dispensation. I don't have as many activities as Trustee Chu does, but no one does. And on Saturday the 9th, I went to the band review, and I went at the beginning and stayed the whole time and had a great time with my colleagues. We had enough of us there to violate the Brown Act, and Trustee Biederman was there as well, and from NCOE, and I got to present an award, and it was just, it was great. I was freezing to death, but had some pizza, and that cheered me up. And I sat next to a man from Brentwood who went to school in Napa, and he was telling me all the stories about the old days in Napa and how much he loved coming back to visit. His family's still here, the Evans family. And it was fun. And the shows were so creative. They were. I was just completely impressed. And then Tuesday, the 11th, I couldn't go to coffee with the superintendent because I went to Shearer School at 8:20 and stayed for 6 hours. And it was a really interesting presentation with Karen Juncker, who I guess you could describe it as community circles. And she was running, classes were coming in. And yes, and Dr. Reddy was there as well. And classes from kindergarten on up were coming through, and there was lots of interaction and lots of getting up and crossing the room and sitting next to people you don't know, and moving out of your comfort zone. And the whole idea is to have people be more relaxed around people they don't know, and to have fun and to reach out, but also how to help create a school culture, expand on a school culture, and make everyone feel safe, everybody feel wanted, and develop student leadership. And I saw some students who, I was looking at a couple of them and thinking, okay, there's a good teacher, and one of them I thought, okay, that person is a good principal. I can just see it now. And so it was really fun. And the students who are interested are going to be solicited to take part in this. I thought it was good. And Wednesday, it was a real commitment of staff and the students. And on Wednesday the 13th, I had my typical meeting with the superintendent, and on my way, I poked my head in this room and saw the Arbinger training at work, and told him how wonderful it was and how it had changed my personality for the better. And then something I also attended the Napa County Office of Education meeting on Zoom. It was really interesting. And I did something I never thought I would ever do again. I wrote a letter of recommendation for a student. I regret to say it was for Stanford, but I kind of think she's going to get.
Trustee Water.
I know. I went to Cal. I kind of think she's going to get in. And as far as that book I gave you. Last year, our state senator was having one of his town hall meetings, online, and it was all about artificial intelligence. It was about a year ago, and of course, everyone sitting there was going, "Oh, it's going to be great as soon as we get the guardrails up. Oh, it's going to be great as soon as we get the guardrails up." There was one person saying, "What guardrails? When is that happening? Like never." And I texted Senator Dodd and said, "I think you all should read Frankenstein." And he said, "I don't know what that's about on the radio." And I texted back and said, "I'm mailing you a copy." And I did. Everybody should read it. It's a great book. And that is the conclusion of my report. And now we have a student board board representative reports, sorry. And I've got them right here. It looks like we don't have any. Special Education Community Advisory Committee?
Yes.
We do have one, okay.
We did. We met on the 28th, and the agenda items included a presentation by the Deaf Plus Access Coordinator from NorCal Services for Deaf and Hard of Hearing. So thank you to Diane Olofsson for giving that presentation. She actually did it in sign language with an interpreter. So that was really fabulous. That was really cool. And then we also heard about this year's disability awareness campaign that the CAC leadership is kind of working out. And they wanted to share with the community that the next CAC meeting on November 18th, which is this coming Monday, will be in person at the Napa County Office of Education, and the presentation will be on navigating your child's IEP. So I think anyone who has special ed students, this would be very relevant to them to attend. They will be serving dinner, and they will have Spanish interpretation.
That's good.
And that concludes my report.
Thank you.
We did not meet.
Did not meet. How about?
We have not met.
Town of Yountville?
We did not meet.
Did not meet. Move to superintendent and executive staff.
Great, thank you, President Water, and good evening, NVUSD trustees, staff, and community. Since our last meeting, I had the pleasure of visiting our NOSH Central Kitchen, where I was able to meet with Director Kristen Teckel and some of the Central Kitchen staff. The food services team there is leaning into so many of our organizational core values, but I specifically want to mention my observations of the department's unwavering commitment to excellence by sharing some of their department's impressive data that was there driving the work at the kitchen. They had it up on a whiteboard in the center of the kitchen and felt really proud about the progress they've made. So over the last couple of years, NOSH has had over a 60% increase in participation in our school nutrition program. About 5,000 meals are prepared daily in the central kitchen and prepared for distribution out to our school sites. I learned that we are serving now on average 7,000 breakfast meals and 7,000 lunch meals per day. I want to congratulate the Central Kitchen team and really all of our food services staff for the important work that they do with our Healthy Scratch Kitchen school nutrition model. It's been amazing to watch the evolution and development of that program over the last 7 years. I know many of us are excited about the upcoming opportunity to join cafeteria teams across the district in serving our special Thanksgiving feast lunches. I will be serving the Thanksgiving feast at Napa Valley Language Academy next Thursday. I had a fantastic time doing it at Silverado last year. So join in on the fun, trustees, if you can. I also want to thank Northwood Principal Suzanne Flint and West Park Principal Kate Lindman for 2 productive school visits. I talked with both principals extensively about how they are strengthening their support in the classroom at both sites for our multilingual learners at the elementary level. On October 30th, I had the opportunity to participate in the College Board's California Superintendent Symposium, As part of this event, I was invited to serve as one of the lunchtime panelists to share about NVUSD's impressive work in increasing access to advanced placement courses across our high schools, particularly for students who have been historically underrepresented. And I had the opportunity to discuss our ongoing, persistent commitment to the PSAT and SAT school days that we fund for NVUSD high school students. It was an honor to discuss and also share about Strategy 2 and our strategic plan to remind everybody that strategy is establishing systems for career-aligned real-world learning. That's in our 24-29 strategic plan. And the College Board is looking at a lot of alignment between their college-going programs and the work that they're about to launch around career readiness as well. One of the most rewarding parts of the work I get to do is the engagement with different educational partners about the district's work in service to our students. Over the last couple of weeks, I held both my superintendent parent advisory group meeting and a coffee with the superintendent. Some of the trustees were there with me, as they mentioned, meeting at Napa Junction. I had the pleasure of listening, learning, and discussing important topics like open enrollment, demographic data and trends, Prop 28 funds and the implementation of those dollars, our focus on improving literacy, campus safety, and the new Phone-Free Schools Act with parents. Thank you to the dozens of parents who attend these engagement opportunities that provide me ongoing insight into the community's needs and desires for their children's education. I also want to close up regarding engagement by thanking the Superintendent Teacher Advisory Group representatives. 24 site representatives and my team had a meaningful conversation on Tuesday afternoon about professional learning in the district and how we can continue to improve professional development opportunities for teachers in alignment with Strategy 6 in our strategic plan, which is unify professional learning throughout our system. I also just want to take a moment to thank Director Susan Miller, I think she's present online this evening, who oversees enrollment services, who's joined me in some of these venues to answer a lot of questions regarding open enrollment and our shifting student demographics while sharing information about her transparent, consistent approach in the centralized enrollment office to navigating the complex puzzle of enrollment and student placement. She has been a tremendous listener with all of these audiences and an exceptional presenter on this very complex, high-interest topic for both parents and staff. Lastly, I want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving holiday. As Thanksgiving approaches, I want to express my sincere gratitude for everyone's unwavering dedication to our students' educational success. The work we get to do to serve students and their families is truly inspiring and rewarding, and I'm extremely grateful that I get to do it here in NVUSD with so many incredible people. Please enjoy rest, relaxation, and delicious food over the break. And I would also request that each of us consider doing whatever we can to support those who might be in need during the start of the holiday season in the same ways that Vintage High School, apparently, according to Student Board Representative Teresa Cifuentes, shared in her board report this evening with some of the work that you're doing at Vintage High School to model caring for those who are in need, especially during the holidays. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to the executive team who will be reporting on behalf of the different divisions. Assistant Superintendent Dana Page is at a conference in Monterey, so she has asked that Director Kate Gauger, who is the Director of Professional Learning, do tonight's report for the Human Resources Division.
Wonderful, thank you. Good evening, President Water, Board of Trustees, Student Board Member Teresa Cifuentes, and of course, Dr. Musetti. It is a real pleasure to be here tonight. And I'm thrilled to pick up where Trustee Water left off regarding Arbinger, and excited to share with you that we have successfully launched our first NVUSD-led Arbinger training just yesterday here at the district office. Our brave and talented leaders, Stephanie Vasquez, who's our principal at Canyon Oaks Elementary, and Sally Zickman, principal at Vichy Elementary, delivered the first of 2 full days of Arbinger material to an audience of 24 employees. The participant group consisted of 10 certificated and 14 classified staff members, just a great blend. They engaged in content related to why mindset matters, radical self-awareness, diagnosing the drama, transforming the conflict, and turning the job outward. One of our other internal trainers, Julie Bordes, visited the room while the workshop was underway and shared that she noticed a high level of collegiality and engagement as the participants exchanged ideas, as well as a general sense of comfort in the room. Our goal ultimately is to engage 200 employees or more before the end of the school year, and we're well on our way with a total of 145 voluntary signups as of today. Our team is genuinely excited to continue sharing the positive impact of an outward mindset on both our personal and our professional lives. And that concludes my report. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Gauger. I ran into one of the participants in the hallway today, and they informed me that their relationship with their partner at home was changing immediately yesterday after training. So that's great. And if things are better at home, they're usually better at work too, right? So that's all good. Okay, next we have Dr. Monica Reddy, who will be providing the report for the Instructional Support Services Division.
Good evening, President Water, Board of Trustees, Student Board Member Dereza Cifuentes, Superintendent Dr. Massetti, and the NVUSD community. Tonight I will give an update on our work to deepen and strengthen multi-tiered systems of support, often referred to as MTSS, in the Napa Valley Unified School District. MTSS is a comprehensive framework that aligns and integrates systems of support for the whole child, including academic, behavioral, mental health, physical, and social emotional needs. Over the past 5 years, NVUSD has made progress with MTSS, including the development of a framework, early warning indicators, ARIES analytics, and MTSS teams at every site. We built social, emotional, and behavior support through MTSS and are blessed to have community-based partnerships to provide targeted and responsive support. Elementary interventionists provide literacy support, and secondary MTSS leads support the implementation of interventions. We're excited to partner with MVA leadership in response to our staff feedback, as they shared earlier this evening. Our goal is to ensure the effective, consistent implementation of MTSS with academic and behavioral intervention in order to provide differentiated support for all of our students. Each school site has a dedicated MTSS coach and support partner from the district office that will attend MTSS meetings throughout the school year. The coaches started the year by attending one MTSS meeting at every school site in the district to determine areas of promise and areas for potential growth. We look forward to reconvening the MTSS District Advisory starting on December 7th, which will be composed of district leaders, site leaders, social workers, school psychologists, counselors, and teachers. We will meet monthly with the goal of strengthening the MTSS process at all schools through consistent training, supporting leadership and leading the progress monitoring and coaching, and building and bolstering academic interventions and communication regarding such interventions. NVUSD continues to elevate our focus on middle schools. In support of Strategic Plan Strategies 1 and 4, on Wednesday, November 12th, the trainers from the Diagnostic Center North were at Redwood Middle School delivering professional development in universal design for learning. This is the beginning of a technical assistance project supporting a more inclusive education experience for our students. We're looking forward to additional training as well as coaching experiences for teachers, program specialists, and our coordinators to assist NVUSD employees in accommodating all learners' access to our core curriculum. I want to thank the Redwood Middle School community for being our pilot school with this work. The Instructional Support Services team continues to listen and learn so we can best support staff and improve student outcomes. Thank you to Napa Junction, Canyon Oaks, Sheer TK8, Snow and Vichy for hosting Executive Director Matt Manning and me and sharing your accomplishments, goals, and areas so that we can best support. I will close this evening by thanking Sheer TK8 for their focused work this week on building community. It was by far the highlight of my week. I had the opportunity to participate in a community circle with a class of first grade students. I thoroughly enjoyed learning about the upcoming student performances and all the roles the students are excited to fill, from singer to musician to promotions. We ended the circle with all the places we want to go, and our students have big dreams of the places they want to travel around the world. Thank you to the Sheer community for engaging in this week-long, purposeful focus on building consistent structures and systems for engaging students in high-quality interactions through community circles and developing their knowledge of restorative practices and effective language. And that concludes my report.
That's great. Thank you, Dr. Reddy. And next, we'll have Assistant Superintendent Rob Manguala, who oversees the Business and Operations Division.
Business Services is working diligently on the first update to our budget, which will be presented at our December board meeting. In preparation, I will attend the Chief Business Official Symposium next week, where I will hear the latest budget and economic information. Open enrollment is well underway. Families are in the process of registering for the 25-26 school year already and are submitting applications to attend magnet and non-boundary programs in NVUSD. Open enrollment will close on the 30th of November. Director Miller was invited to attend the Superintendent's Parent Advisory and Teacher Advisory to present on the topic of centralized enrollment. She shared tools and timelines used in the enrollment process and shared how data guides decisions at every step of the enrollment process. She also attended the Napa High booster meeting on Monday, November 4th, and answered questions about enrollment at the high school level and the open enrollment process. So open enrollment is definitely a topic this time of year. Food Services continues preparing for the 4th annual Thanksgiving feast, which will be on November 21st. They will also be receiving one of their new refrigerated trucks this week, which will be purchased with state one-time funding called Kitchen Infrastructure Training Funds. Maintenance is taking delivery of new carports to be installed at the maintenance yard and to protect equipment from the elements. They're continuing to evaluate asphalt needs at sites, and they also took possession of new equipment that will help support sports field maintenance and repairs. In the Research, Data, and Assessment Services Department, the data team finished analyzing the results of last spring's CASP assessment. You will hear a summary of the results this evening with Dr. Peter Aboud. Additionally, the team is getting ready for the annual fall CalPADS state data reporting deadline and already beginning to plan for spring LPAC and CASP testing. The technology team has been focusing our efforts on getting updated teacher and student devices in the hands of users, deploying over 50 new teacher laptops in the month of November alone. As we approach the upcoming break, we will be implementing a long-awaited Wi-Fi changes, eliminating our legacy private student network, and implementing new security and access features aimed at providing our staff and student with fast, safe, and secure browsing experiences. In the Transportation Department, we are continuing to prepare for the delivery of our first electric buses in January of 2025. We're working to ensure that we have all the infrastructure in place to accommodate charging needs for the electric buses by their delivery. Transportation also took delivery of a propane-powered bus this past week. This vehicle powertrain emits very low pollutants and will help the Transportation Department reduce its carbon footprint. Transportation is also continuing to work with comprehensive high schools to develop a van program that complies with the needs of school sites and education code. This concludes my report.
President Water, that concludes the executive staff reports for the evening. Oh, we have one, or I'm sorry, it's on the agenda.
What?
4.
Yes, 4. We have facilities and bond update.
President Water, trustees, Dr. Musetti, thanks for having me. This will be a quick update, and I'm sorry for the repeats if you were in facilities and technology. A lot of the same slides. All right. Oh, there it goes. Okay. Maybe it's not on. There we go. All right, so we're going to take you through summer planning for projects at both Napa and at American Canyon for the A2 bond. There we go. All right, in Napa, we are looking at projects to continue our efforts to replace roofing and HVAC units. We're doing that at McPherson, Phillips, Pueblo Vista, Shear, Vichy, Silverado. At Silverado, we had plans and all the information we needed to start that project right away. So that's ready to go. And we're also doing a smaller version of that project at Building E, which is wrapping up shortly. At West Park Elementary School, we're planning to do something smaller, exterior painting, looking at underused portables and coating the roofs on the portables that were not replaced in 2017 when the roofs at the other permanent buildings were replaced. At Browns Valley, we're going to finish what we started this past summer, replacing the HVAC units. The summer prior to that, we did roofing, so we're going to go back, do those HVAC units, and do exterior painting. Everywhere that we're touching this summer, we are reaching out early and often to the site principals. It's a new policy that we're starting to start talking with them very early, helping them to understand what's being planned at their sites, what projects, how it might impact them, and getting ready for the summer so they know what's coming well in advance. And while we're still waiting for the vote count, we are talking about what is in and out of these projects, depending on whether Measure B passes or not. So we do, we're in the process of working on a contingency plan for what we'll address if Measure B does not pass. But we're still crossing our fingers. All right, play structures and assessment of surfacing on playgrounds. We are working with a team with architects and the team at Van Pelt to walk every site, every play structure, and evaluate them for their age, their general condition, whether there's something that needs to be repaired or a full replacement, and then evaluating the play surfacing. That includes both the bark boxes as well as the asphalt. And again, we're working on what we would or would not do, dependent on Measure B passing. But I know that asphalt in particular is a very high priority for us to get fixed and resolve some of those tripping and cracking issues that you guys see in the picture there. All right, very exciting. In A2, we are getting ready to start construction at the new NPR at Donaldson Way. The green area you see there is what the contractor will be using during Christmas break to get their equipment in and start to get mobilized. We'll be relocating 4 portables that are in the footprint of the current NPR building, putting them in a new location on campus and getting started on construction of the new NPR. We are conducting weekly meetings with Mr. Dennis to keep him up to date with what's going on, and we'll carry that throughout the project so he's well informed and able to let his staff and students and families know what's going on. All right, this summer we're planning to do some roofing and HVAC work at the middle school and at Canyon Oaks. One of the benefits of A2 getting passed was that we're doing timely replacements of HVAC and roofing in the timeline that is ideal rather than waiting till things are leaky and broken down. So really, really great that we're able to do that. The boxes you see up on the screen, the blue area denotes what will not be getting roofing and HVAC because those are newer buildings than the single-story classrooms, and then there will not be new fire alarm work happening in the new NPR building there for obvious reasons. It already got all that. We'll be at the middle school doing HVAC, roofing, and fire alarm, and we'll be at Canyon Oaks just replacing HVAC because of the age of the site. We don't have to do roofing or paint or some of the other things that we'd be doing. All right. And finally, we are planning on doing a replacement of both the track and the turf surface at the middle school. And that will be a project that will be taking place over the summer. And lastly, thank you, and I'll leave you with a picture from Canyon Oaks PTA enjoying their new courtyard. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you, Kelly.
Thank you, Kelly.
Okay, now we're moving on to approval of consent agenda. And let's see, this is background information on these items is provided to the board prior to the meeting. A common motion takes action without discussion on roll call vote unless discussion of items is requested by a board member.
Move to approve.
Okay, we've got a motion from Trustee Gracia.
Second.
Second from Trustee Hart. Do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you, and we need a roll call vote.
Student Board Member De Reza Cifuentes.
Aye.
Trustee Water.
Aye.
Trustee Reiser.
Aye.
Trustee Shu.
Aye.
Trustee Gracia.
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz.
Aye.
Trustee Hart.
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we're moving on to presentations and discussion items. And 1, general services. A, introduction to the California School Board Association's recommended special policy updates, July 2024.
So, yeah, these are just
Comment after.
coming for presentation of the school board. It's the two most recent updates from CSBA, and they were reviewed by the policy committee and brought forth for full board consideration. Review them at this meeting, and then they will be taken to, as action at the December 12th meeting.
Thank you. Do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment.
Thank you. Okay, next one is B, Introduction to California School Board Association's recommended policy updates for September 2024.
I referred to both those items
Oh, okay,
in my
fine.
description, so thank you, Trustee
Okay,
Water.
so I guess we don't have any public comments on this
You
either.
can ask, you can
Do we
ask.
have any public comments on B?
There are no public comments.
Okay, 2, Business Services. A, Spring 2024 CASP results.
Turn on the mic. Good evening, President Water, trustees, Dr. Musetti, and student board member Teresa Cifuentes. This evening, I will be sharing with you the results of last spring's CASP testing for both English Language Arts and Math. CASP stands for the California Assessment of Student Performance and Progress and is the state's summative assessment, which we give annually to students in grades 3 through 8 and 11. The results are used for a number of purposes, most notably as an accountability measure on the California dashboard. The CASP tests are summative assessments and are part of our comprehensive assessment system, which ties into strategy 3 of our strategic plan. And normally when I present the progress monitoring STAR data, our instructional services team presents the implications of the data on their work alongside me. Since these are summative results, this will primarily be a data services presentation tonight where I share general trends, but our instructional services team will be available to answer some of the questions this evening. I'll start with a summary of the results at the state level, followed by our overall district results, and we'll then break down the results for elementary, middle, and high schools across the county. First, the state results. Here you see a comparison of the results from the 22-23 school year and the 23-24 school year, which just passed. The percentages you see are the percentages of students who scored at standard met or exceeded, the two highest of the 4 performance levels. In 22-23, 46.7% of students scored at standard met or exceeded, and in 23-24, in the 23-24 school year, 47% of students scored at standard met or exceeded, an increase of only 0.3%. When we look at results across the state for our significant student groups, we can see that the results across the board show very minimal changes from the previous year. The same is true for statewide math data. There are minimal changes from one year to the next, although there is a slight increase across the board. When we look at NVUSD's data, we see trends similar to what we saw at the state level. For English Language Arts, there are very small changes from one year to the next. In most cases, that change is less than a 1% change. And like the state, we see a slight increase across the board for all significant student groups in math, but that change is minimal. In a moment, I will share the school level results for NVUSD schools as well as those across the county. But before I share the results, I'd like to ground us in a couple of data points that will be important to consider when we analyze the results. First, what's called the unduplicated count. The California Department of Education designates a student as unduplicated if they fit into one or more of the following student groups: English learners, students eligible for free or reduced lunch, and students who are unhoused. A student is only counted once in a school or district's unduplicated count, regardless of how many of the student groups they qualify under. And typically, unduplicated students perform at a lower rate than non-unduplicated students. So we can expect districts and schools with a higher unduplicated rate to perform at a lower rate than those with a lower unduplicated rate. Okay. Next, I wanted to share the funding per ADA that each district receives in the county. This is based on the most recent data available on the EdData website. And you can see that Napa Valley Unified is at the bottom of the list. Nearly all districts in the county receive over twice as much funding as we do. St. Helena receives almost 2.5 times what we receive. Okay. So I want us to keep those two data points in mind as we look at the data tonight. And with that, I will start with the elementary CASP data. This bar chart shows each of the elementary schools in the county and the percentage of their students who scored at standard met or exceeded on the English language arts portion of the CASP. I know it's small, but we wanted you to see all of the schools on the same page. All of the blue bars represent elementary schools within Napa Valley Unified, and over half of our elementary schools outperform the other county's elementary schools. The exception is St. Helena Elementary School, and even still, both Vichy and Northwood outperform St. Helena Elementary, despite their district receiving nearly 2.5 times the funding that we receive. The same holds true for math, with over half of our elementary schools outperforming the elementary schools in the county. Vichy Elementary and St. Helena Elementary have very comparable and duplicated percentages, and Vichy still outperforms St. Helena Elementary in math. And now we switch to the Napa County Middle School data. Okay. Before I show the results, I'd again like us to revisit this concept of unduplicated students. So here I've listed out all the middle schools in the county and their unduplicated percentages. Robert Louis Stevenson Intermediate, or RLS, has an unduplicated count of 31.1%, followed by Mayacamas Charter Middle School at 45.1%. And next come all of the NVUSD middle schools with unduplicated rates higher than RLS and Mayacamas. So based on how unduplicated students typically perform across the state, we would expect both RLS and Mayacamas to outperform the rest of NVUSD. Note that there are no middle schools listed for Calistoga, Howell Mountain, or Pope Valley, and this is because those districts do not have schools which exclusively serve students in grades 6 through 8, which we could compare to the schools listed on this slide. Despite the unduplicated rates, Mayacamas Charter Middle School actually had the lowest CASP ELA results across the entire county. Additionally, their school is the smallest middle school in the county, with only 71 students who were tested last school year. Compare that to American Canyon Middle School, which outperformed all of the NVUSD middle schools and is also the largest. So we can say here that smaller schools do not necessarily yield better student achievement results. Okay. When we look at middle school math data across the county, we once again see RLS outperforming the district middle schools, which is to be expected given their lower unduplicated rate. But once again, Mayacamas had the poorest results across the county, with only 13% of their students performing at standard met or exceeded. Additionally, we wanted to break down the CASP results for our middle school students based on their participation in the Dual Language Immersion Program, or DLI. When the district first engaged in the middle school redesign process a few years ago, we examined data that showed our DLI students performed at higher rates than those who were not in the DLI program. And we continue to see achievement data in support of DLI programming. Our DLI middle schools at Unidos outperform their non-DLI peers across the district, especially in English language arts. In English language arts, they outperform their peers by 7.3 percentage points, and in math by 4.6 percentage points. And this further reinforces the decision to establish a middle school DLI academy as part of the middle school redesign process. Okay. And when we layer on top of that the data, when we layer on top of that data the student's primary language, we find that students whose primary language is Spanish and participated in the DLI program did 1.4 times better than their peers whose primary language was also Spanish and did not participate in the DLI program. For students in the DLI program whose primary language is something other than Spanish, the students also outperformed their peers by 1.2 and 1.3 times in English language arts and math respectively. So students in the DLI program outperform their peers regardless of primary language, and those whose primary language is Spanish actually benefit more. And now we'll switch to the high school data. These are the high school results across the county for English language arts. St. Helena High School had the highest percentage of students at standard met or exceeded, with American Canyon High School coming in second. Napa High is the lowest, but it's important to note that Napa High has the highest unduplicated rate out of all of the high schools at 75.5%, and the highest percentage of multilingual learners. Okay. And we see similar results in math, with St. Helena High performing at the highest rate, followed by the NVUSD high schools. Okay. And that concludes my presentation, and I will open it up for any questions or comments.
First, I'd like to ask if there are any public comments on this.
There is no public comment.
Thank you. Well, I'd like you to go back to the middle school slides.
Sure. Could we get that back up again? Any one of them in particular?
This one.
For math? Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah, I guess a small school is no guarantee of stratospheric performance. That's one of my takeaways. The other one is I've heard a lot of talk over the past year about what a wealthy community Napa is. We're so rich, and gee, why don't we just have people donate to the school maybe instead of run a bond election? And one thing that's impressing me is we may have a lot of wealthy adults here, but a lot of our children are not, are definitely lower income. And I think that's something that, a lot of folks don't understand. It's easy to overlook that in this culture. Any other comments? President Emeritus. President Emeritus Gracia.
Sure. So we can stay on this slide because I want to talk a little bit about this one and the previous one. I appreciate that our middle school test scores, which were much maligned by the public and were cited by opponents as the reason for needing a new middle school, all outperformed the new Mayacamas Middle School, both in English and math. I was also concerned, though, and I understand that we can't intervene our way out of our very low scores at Sheer Snow and McPherson. I appreciate that these schools have our greatest needs due to extremely high unduplicated numbers, but we still need to see improvement in those test scores. I want to make sure that they have all the resources they need to improve those scores. I've heard multiple times that we need to improve our Tier 1 instruction in order to improve the scores for these students. What is the timeline on which we can reasonably see improved Tier 1 instruction taking effect so that our students can benefit from these improvements? I've been hearing about improving Tier 1 instruction for several years now, but we never seem to quite get there. When might we expect to get there? This enhanced Tier 1 instruction is especially important for our students who have the greatest need. This might be a good topic for a future board presentation or study session.
President Water, because our questions are going to overlap, and so Dr. Ray and Dr. Boo don't have to answer the same question times.
Right.
Okay. Just want to be respectful of your time. Thank you. We're always going to see percentage gains and losses, and the question is always going to continue to be, how do we improve? So when I look at this data, I have to ask myself, what does it tell me? And then I have to ask myself what it doesn't tell me. So what it tells me, and a little repetitive here, is the 21,000. I mean, just think of this number, $21,685 difference in per pupil spending between St. Helena and Napa. I mean, we can look at it this way, but it's the enormity of that number. And as Dr. Abood said, it's a little under 2.5 times what we receive, and yet we outperformed at the elementary level in both English language arts and math. The correlation between per pupil spending and performance starts to materialize a little bit more in secondary. And interestingly enough, the largest NVUSD middle school with a little over 1,000 students outperforms the smallest county middle school in Napa, about 120 students, by over 13.5%. So this data really does disrupt the Mayacamas achievement narrative. The DLI track, I think that speaks for itself, and the unduplicated counts do tell a story, and we do have successes. And when you consider the ADA funding and our unduplicated count, we are performing. But when we look at the state numbers, we recognize the improvement opportunities. We use the state data as a point of comparative reference as well as our prior year performance, but the state numbers provide a standardized form of measurement for what is supposed to be a fair comparison against the same set of academic standards. And those state standard numbers are low, as I was informed. The composition of each district is not standardized, so the system seems to me that it's fraught with inaccuracies. Every district faces those same hurdles, so I guess the real equalizer is that. So if I, as a non-educator, try and dissect this, it goes as follows. My understanding is that the benefit of our Tier 1 instruction is the ability to assess whether students are performing at grade level or a predetermined benchmark or proficiency level, and if a certain percentage are, we make that determination that we have effective instruction. I do not know what the industry standard is to make that determination on our demographics. I just know we're not there yet. So what doesn't it tell me? We know we're below our benchmark. So how are we analyzing instructional practice? Per previous discussions at this podium, Dr. Reddy, you introduced the work you were doing with our principals to better assess classroom practice, learning objectives, implementation, and ultimately results. Is there an update on that work? Do we collect data on rate of improvement with Tier 2 and Tier 3 interventions? And do we have the staffing to execute on our, you did address that a little bit in your comments, to execute our MTSS strategies? So much of this is monitoring, assessing skill, data collection, but ultimately it seems that to be effective, we need to calibrate instructional practices to better meet the needs of our students. And another quick question, do we look at other districts of similar size and demographics that have been successful in increasing achievement scores to see what their implementation strategies are? And is there cross-pollination in instructional best practice with districts that mirror ours? This is what's always fascinated me about education. It seems like all variables and no true constants. We need to improve our scores, yes, but to me, the complexity is in the diagnostics. I want to recognize the amount of work dedicated to creating and sustaining growth opportunities for students. We do need to increase our scores, but I believe this can be an arbitrary standard, and the true wins that we have are not always measurable. So thank you for your work.
I'm not sure.
Monica, do you want to answer that?
Sure, I'll take a few of those.
Okay. Excuse me, Dr. Reddy.
It's okay.
Yeah.
I answered all.
And then you can go.
So first, thank you for your focus on our schools that have the highest unduplicated counts. So each school mentioned above has additional resources. They have that through Title I, and they are also our community schools, so providing funding to the whole child. Additionally, each school has funding through resources dependent upon the school. So for example, McPherson has magnet funding. In addition, they have funding through a literacy grant specifically to target improved results in literacy. Shear is also a magnet school. And then Snow participates in the P3CC collaborative. So they are appropriately resourced and staffed. When it comes to expectations around results, I would say system-wide improvement takes time. And so I would say over the course of this strategic plan in 5 years, to see system-wide, not pockets, will take the 5 years of the strategic plan. And with that, as assistant superintendent of instruction, we need to see incremental growth from year to year. We have to set that expectation for our division, for our sites, that there is incremental growth year to year. So I want to give an example of one of those school sites that is seeing that and how we go about that work, so it's a little bit clearer. Snow participates in the P3CC, it's preschool to third coherence collaborative, which brings together district teams in partnership with thought leaders in the field, and they're called California Educational Partner staff who have experience in high impact research-based strategies. The purpose of this 3-year partnership is to develop participating teachers' knowledge of grade level standards and how they build from one grade to the next, to increase instructional rigor with support, knowing that we need to teach at grade level and knowing that our students are coming to us maybe not at that grade level, and how do we provide that support, and to analyze student assessments and student work to make progress. So these practices are being scaled up. I'll just give you a small sample though. Snow has been focused on that for 1 year alongside Phillips. And in that, Snow saw a 5% increase in their CAS math scores. So when I talk about we need to expect incremental growth from year to year, that's the kind of incremental growth I would expect to see from year to year if you're spending targeted time in mathematics at a school site. So it's both. It's both. To speak to your questions around progress monitoring and an update on some of the work that we're doing, when it comes to instructional practices, it starts before you even implement them. So making sure that the instructional strategies that we're investing our time and money in our high impact instructional strategies before we even begin is key to this process. And so what we're putting in front of staff, we want to make sure that it's already high impact. That goes alongside regularly analyzing those instructional practices, so using some of the systems that we have, like learning walks, really investing in our principals during principal learning, and then the continual cycles where this should occur and when we get to sustainability is our professional learning communities. It is one of the highest impact places to really monitor progress. It's where teachers are looking at their instructional practices and measuring that. And so that long-term work and the strategic plan that I have the privilege of doing alongside Dr. Abood is to systematize that work. You need a comprehensive assessment system. You need to be able to look at that data regularly. And so over the long term, what leads to those systemized results as opposed to those incremental results is having those systems and structures in place that we're going to build over the next couple of years to ensure that our school sites can do that twice a month in their PLCs or on their early release times. And so we're not waiting. We're still strengthening the PLCs in that process. And so the learning sprints that you've heard about, looking at tasks at the instructional level, the tier 1 level, that's happening. As we have those systems and structures in place with the strategic plan over the next couple of years, those will become strengthened, and our ability to measure that growth over time in smaller increments will be improved. And so we look forward to that work. And then I think also right now it's just anchoring and really ensuring that our principals are building their capacity around this model. And so just some updates around how is that work going. In collaboration with administrators and teacher leaders across the district, we're working to ensure that they have clarity of purpose and instructional expectations across the district. We are at a time where we can shift. We have some incredible sustainability in our wellness programming that we can make that shift to really start to unify our approach and set some benchmarks and work together with leaders to help them develop a shared understanding of what tier 1 teaching and learning can look like. It has one of the highest effect size as a principal. Your ability to engage in instruction and dialogue and provide observation and feedback to teachers has a really, really high effect size. So we're currently in the process of that. Our next step around that is we're implementing district-wide observation protocols designed to enhance our ability to consistently and with clarity visit school sites and have those conversations with district and school level staff. This is a part of our instructional leadership team across the district that involves over 100 people. And our focus is really looking on that guaranteed and viable curriculum and looking at the tasks that students are engaged in to ensure that it's at grade level and we're intervening there while also providing that tiered support and monitoring that as we go out monthly within those teams. And so that will be systematic and consistent and allow us to come back together and really see how are we doing across the district and bring that information back so then we can make adjustments along the way. We do collect data on tier 2 and tier 3, right? We do know we have students who need a lot of support to engage in that first round of instruction at grade level. And so there is a real need around tier 2 and tier 3 interventions. It is a focus this year as we shift from wellness to academics to really ensure that we are able to provide those and that we're tracking how it's going. So we do collect data on the rate of improvement for students receiving tier 2 and 3 interventions across multiple areas. The interventions are logged in our information system, so we use ARIES with the incredible help of our data and assessment team with specific codes to track a student who's receiving intervention so that then we can see, are they making improvement? We do that in a couple of areas. So we do that in TK3 with a quick phonics assessment. We do that in 3 through 12 with the STAR assessment. And so we can see if a student is assigned to potentially Read 180 or Math 180, are we seeing results on the STAR assessment with that? If they are engaged in early literacy intervention with that interventionist, are they improving on the QPA as they go through that? So we do track that data, and it does, to your point around MTSS, it does require staffing. So we do have adequate staffing, I would say, at this point. We have interventionists that help provide that. We have MTSS leads at the secondary sites that help track and provide that. We have a specific focus on our multilingual learners by having some leads at the secondary site. And then we have a district staff that helps really provide and guide and coach those leads at those schools alongside the site administrators. So I think just to close out and to your final question around, do we partner with other districts or look to other districts? I think that's just an active and important part of learning and collaborating to see what's working in other spaces, especially those that are of similar demographics and size. We have an incredible opportunity that was brought to us by Dr. Musetti last year to work with the P3CC collaborative. It does allow our elementary teachers to engage across other like districts, and then Silverado and Napa High are engaged in the on-track, which allows them to look at the transition from 8th to 9th grade, and they're sitting alongside other districts as they're going through their problems of practice and hearing how they're doing, what they're doing, and continuing to network and problem solve through that. And so I think that those are two of the areas we'll look to and see as they're doing that work, is there a way to expand it? So for example, last week during our instructional leadership team, we actually used a method from P3CC with all 26 of our site teams. So we're seeing that translation from the work that we're learning and engaging with other districts to our larger community of schools.
Dr. Reddy, this statewide collaboration is, if I remember, because I do go to those two superintendent meetings a year, it's a cohort of about 30-plus districts from across the state, right? Does that sound right?
Between both of them?
No, in each of them.
In each of them, it's probably about, for the secondary, for the middle high school one, it's probably about 10. The elementary one's a little bit larger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Trustee DeRosa-Cifuentes?
Thank you. Answer my question. I was just wondering how the magnet program was gonna add to the impact of test scores, but you answered it. Thank you.
Okay, well, that's great. Any other comments, questions? Trustee Chu?
So I only have experience with large schools because my kids went through Canyon Oaks, American Canyon Middle School, and now the largest high school is ACHS due to declining enrollment up here. So I think the other trustees have already mentioned that, size of school doesn't necessarily reflect student achievement. And it really is about how we deliver the instruction to our students. And I think you've outlined what we're really trying to focus on. And I want to highlight that I was very impressed with the data for the dual language immersion program.
Yes.
That has, it's just amazing that, I think when we challenge our students to have two languages from the get-go in their instruction, that they're able to reach this higher level of learning across not only in language arts, but also in math. So, I think I've always been very much a proponent of DLI programs. I hope that at some point we can bring DLI down to American Canyon. I know that the way that the model works, it doesn't necessarily, it might not work in American Canyon, but I hope that we are looking at more opportunities to see what it is that we are doing in DLI programs, and can we translate that to all of our other schools, because I think we can learn a lot from that type of instruction.
Thank you. Yes, we continue to invest in our DLI program. So Principal Uribe is actually leading our TK-12 DLI group right now. So our principals are coming together, so I can pass that along to her and see, are there opportunities as they go through that process and look at how we strengthen it even more that can translate over. I also just, I want to appreciate the work of American Canyon Middle School. It is our largest middle school. And the implementation of the redesign process to make that school small through advisory, teaming, and flex has been impressive. So much so that I have the opportunity to present some of the work that they're doing at the AXA Leadership Summit in San Diego tomorrow and represent our middle schools. But they really, they are getting the best results, and their implementation of some of those structures that we know work in middle schools that we replicated through that redesign process. We're seeing impact not only students' sense of well-being, but also their academic performance.
Well, thank you. Any other comments?
No.
Trustee Reiser.
Thank you. Just briefly, thank you so much for this report. In particular, what I think is so valuable for us here, but also for the community who may be tuning in or watching later, the way this data was presented in with the sort of context revealed or illuminated a little bit. The context around the difference in percentage of unduplicated students of the UPP percentage makes such a difference. It just is a different kind of work that the teachers at those sites are a different level of challenge that they're engaging in. And then the context about the difference in ADA, I hope that is eye-opening for anyone in the community who might be listening, that, our neighbor to the north literally is getting twice the money per student. The difference between $15,000 and $36,000 per kid a year. And then the fact that when you look at our data, that really our schools are pretty neck and neck there. I think that we should pat ourselves on the back for that. And it just is so important to remember how complex and nuanced this work is, and that when we're looking at test score data, as a former teacher, I always feel a lot of, I don't know, I guess I get defensive on behalf of teachers when you're looking at, you get these reports and the public is, maybe looking only at the numbers and not at the more nuanced picture. Not to say that we don't have to look at the numbers, but I just want to take a moment to appreciate the hard work of all of the teachers at all of our sites, whether they are close to the St. Helena schools in their test score results or not. Because every one of those educators and site leaders and support staff members are showing up every day with the intention to do their very best to serve students and to raise their achievement and to reach them where they are and to bring them up to where they need to be. And so I don't want to lose sight of that as we get into sort of comparing and contrasting achievement levels. And then I'll just say how interesting it is to me, in addition to the size factor around the Mayacamas Middle Charter School, there were a lot of reasons why we rejected that petition when it came to our board. And as a former teacher, a lot of my concerns and reasons for rejecting that petition were the quality of the program that they were offering and my sense of their, that they were over-promising and that they were not going to be able to deliver. And now here we have our first data point on their achievement, and it turns out that our choice as a board to rededicate that shiny new campus on Salvador to a DLI program really is a much better decision in service to the achievement and the educational experience of our students. So that was the right call to make. And it was also the appropriate assessment that the Mayacamas Charter petition did not offer a strong academic program. And we're seeing that borne out in its results. And my heart goes out to those students. And I really am concerned for their academic experience. And I, for their sake, hope that the charter middle school can get their academic program act together. But it's not looking good. And I just want to say, I share the concern voiced here about how our achievement needs to improve. And I want to thank Dr. Reddy in particular for doing, you're summarizing such an enormous scope of system change work in such digestible and understandable summary like you just did. I just want to say that highlight your point that we're talking about system change and that we're not going to see a 15-point jump in points in percentage point achievement across the board from one year to the next. That this is strategic, systematic work that you have undertaken, and your department and the organization is really looking at it holistically, and you are coming up with action plans to implement at every level that makes sense. Building the capacity of the principal as an instructional leader is is non-negotiable. If we are going to improve at every site, then the instructional leadership at every site has to be exemplary, and that requires building capacity because administrators are pulled in a million different directions, most frequently by discipline issues. But you never know. It could be a fire breaks out, or fire alarm gets pulled, or in any given day, I've never been a principal, but I've worked for many, and so I think that leaning into that most important identity for an administrator as the leader of instruction at their site is going to really bear fruit for us. And I want to thank you for all of the ways that you're doing that systematically and supporting them in their growth. And also that, the version of that is the PLCs for the teachers. You don't just say, bad job, your kids need to do better, now go do it. You say, look, let's get together and look at the problems, look at the data-driven, the commitment that we have to be data-driven is apparent in the work that you're presenting to us. And I just think even though we all want our students to have the highest possible level of skills and academic engagement, I know that we have our eyes on the prize there. And I've said it before, you don't turn a ship on the dime, but we are turning this ship. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other discussion?
I just have a question.
One more? Okay.
Yeah, just one question, and this is mainly on the unduplicated. And this is more for Dr. Aboud in regards to the count of eligible for free and reduced price meals. Do you feel like we've reached a point where we have the most accurate number? Because for the longest time, I know there was a lot of fear or embarrassment or stigma around that. So, I feel like we've seen some of those numbers increase, and maybe they've always been there, and now we can capture that. Can you just comment on that?
Yes, absolutely. So when we switched to collecting income forms on paper or through the Titan system years ago, we saw huge increases in our unduplicated count. So the 23-24 school year, the official number was about 67% unduplicated, up from about 54% when I first started in 2020. We still don't have official certified numbers for this current school year, but they're looking pretty close to that. So I would say yes, based on the 99% completion of data confirmation and the unduplicated numbers we're seeing, we're probably at a point where those numbers are pretty stable and are probably going to look that way moving forward.
Kind of becomes our new standard of looking at that data. So I just think that that's significant because we know that brings additional dollars. And I just want to commend the enrollment center and all that in capturing that because we can only read the data with as much as the accuracy, like that's the information it can give us. And to be able to use that data to make decisions from the instruction side and so on is very valuable. I do fear, just kind of in context with the nature of this next administration and all of the town hall meetings, whether they're national or local, there is this immense agenda to create fear of accessing public programs. And so I just fear in regards to preparing for any information and communication that it is okay to fill out and answer those questions, even if it's done electronically, because that is going to be the primary agenda as January 21st starts. And so I just have very deep concerns in regards to, and I know it's not just that with the education system is more than that, but for this particular item, as we're making counts and how that impacts with dollars, it's become a very real topic of conversation in all of the meetings that I've been in. And it just concerns me because we are unduplicated and our multilingual learners come from that definite background. And so just keeping an eye on that data. So if we see a drop, it means that there's some additional work on our end with our resources to Trustee Jankowicz's question in regards to, do we have the staffing of that? So just something, I mean, right now it's very early on, but history is repeating itself. And we know a little bit of what that agenda was in the first round. And so I just know that in those meetings, that's coming up a lot over and over and over. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. And if we are done, I am going to declare a break because it's after 9 o'clock. What do you think? 5 minutes? Can we do it? 5 minutes. Yes. What? 5 minutes. Okay, now, okay, great. Now we are on action items. And one is general services. A, 2025 California School Boards Association Delegate Assembly Candidate Nomination.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, this is a nomination of Robin Jankowicz. Okay, so we've got a first from Trustee Gracia, a second from Trustee Hart. Do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Okay, and Student Board Member Dereza Cifuentes?
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Maras?
Aye.
No, not roll call.
I think it's.
Oh, sorry, it isn't a
going
roll
to
call.
abstain.
Okay, sorry. Okay, so I got you, and then I'm going to say, I got you, you do it separately, and then I say, all in favor?
Aye.
I will abstain.
Okay, with one abstain, are you abstaining out of modesty? Okay, fine, and so it's, great. One abstention, Jankowicz, and any objections, none, so it's more or less unanimous, 6-7, six votes, plus the advisory vote from our student rep. Okay, 2, business services, declaration of covenants and agreement regarding water service.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion from Trustee Gracia, a second from Trustee Hart. Do we have any comments on this, public comments?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. Student Trustee Dereza Cifuentes?
Aye.
Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? It's unanimous. Okay, 3, facility improvement. Here's the roll call vote. Okay, resolution 25-08, Alta Heights Elementary Interior Refresh Futility.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we've got a first from Trustee Gracia, a second from Trustee Hart. Do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. And we will need a roll call vote.
Student Board Member Teresa Cifuentes,
Aye.
Trustee Water,
Aye.
Trustee Reiser,
Aye.
Trustee Shu,
Aye.
Trustee Gracia,
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz,
Aye.
Trustee Hart,
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Now we have Resolution 25-09, Fencing Phase 4 Futility.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion from Trustee Gracia, a second from Trustee Hart. Do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. And we need a roll call vote.
Student Member Teresa Cifuentes,
Aye.
Trustee Water,
Aye.
Trustee Reiser,
Aye.
Trustee Shu,
Aye.
Trustee Gracia,
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz,
Aye.
Trustee Hart,
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. Resolution 25-10, Canyon Oaks Outdoor Learning Areas Futility.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion from Trustee Gracia, a second from Trustee Hart. Do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. We need a roll call vote.
Student Board Member Teresa Cifuentes,
Aye.
Trustee Water,
Aye.
Trustee Reiser,
Aye.
Trustee Shu,
Aye.
Trustee Gracia,
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz,
Aye.
Trustee Hart,
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And Resolution 25-11, intention to convey sewer easement to Napa Sanitation District.
Move to approve.
Second.
We've got a motion from Trustee Gracia and a second from Trustee Hart. Do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. And we need a roll call vote on this.
Student Board Member Teresa Cifuentes,
Aye.
Trustee Water,
Aye.
Trustee Reiser,
Aye.
Trustee Shu,
Aye.
Trustee Gracia,
Aye.
Trustee Jankowicz,
Aye.
Trustee Hart,
Aye.
Trustee Gonzalez Mares.
Aye.
Motion passes. Thank you.
Thank you. And it's Facilities Improvement District 1.25-24 contract with Consolidated Engineering Laboratories.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion from Trustee Gracia, a second from Trustee Hart. Student Trustee DeRosa Cifuentes.
Aye.
Public comment. Do we have any public comment on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Abstain, opposed, none, unanimous, thank you. Facilities Improvement District 18.2-25 contract with FIT Environmental.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion from Trustee Gracia, second from Trustee Hart. Do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. Student Trustee DeRosa Cifuentes.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Abstain, opposed, it's unanimous. And Facilities Improvement District, I love this.
President Water, just for the record, FID is in reference to the Facilities Improvement Department.
Oh, department, sorry. Okay, it's our new title. Correct. 18.8-24 contract amendment with Arts Builders for Donaldson Way Campus Upgrades Project.
Move to approve, but I'd like some discussion.
All righty.
Second.
Okay, let's move to discussion. Yep.
Okay. So considering how every contract lately has come in overpriced, why are we including a scant 5% contingency to this contract? It seems like with our recent propensity to tackle extra stuff while contractors are present, we ought to be including at least a 10% contingency.
I'll take that one. All right, so this particular project is a design build project. It's the second one the district has done. As you know, we've only done the middle school as the other one, but typically in a design build, you hold less contingency. At the middle school, we had a pretty significant contingency. We used it on owner changes. We added a lot of scope to the project, and we only did that at the end when we knew we had the money. The difference is in a design build contract, your design team is part of your contractor's team. So when they make a mistake, they pay. In a typical project with a hard bid or a leaseback, which is what most of the projects that we've done in Measure H, the design team is owned by the district. So when the design team makes a mistake, we pay. So it's a significant difference in how we manage contingency. The other thing I would say is when thinking about that 5%, we also thought about a new build versus a modernization project. When you do a modernization, you get there like with Alta Heights and said, we have to do more with the walls. We have to do this or that. This is a complete design that comes from the contractor altogether. So the risk is a little less for the district, but I also will add the district is still carrying a little bit of their own contingency outside of this contract, just in case of emergency. Anything else?
And then just, the other difference is the change orders that we put through, for example, for Alta Heights and some of the other projects, they were intentional. So we had planned to do that from the beginning, and it was work that was done in a kind of compressed time period over the summer. This is a totally different project. This is something that's part of the bond, part of A2. So even if you say, hey, we would like to see a contingency, that just means I'm going to take money from one project and put it in the other. So it's just taking money from one hand to the other. So there's no, Measure A2 is already budgeted, the entire I mean, it's a tight budget. It's completely budgeted all the way through. So if you say, hey, we'd like to see more of a contingency in a single project, that just means that I'm going to take money from another project to do that. So there's not only is there not the room to do it, but we don't anticipate that we'd need it, nor are we planning to have owner-generated changes. Anything else? Thank you.
No, that was a good question. That was interesting. And did we get a second for that?
I did. Second.
Okay, so we had a motion from Trustee Gracia, a second from Trustee Hart. And do we have any public comments?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. Student trustee DeRosa Cifuentes.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, okay, unanimous. Facilities Improvement Department, 18.145-20, request to purchase furnishings for Silverado Middle School Building E.
Move to approve.
Second.
First by trustee Gracia, second by trustee Hart. Do we have any public comments?
There is no public comment on this item.
No public comment, so student trustees DeRosa Cifuentes.
Aye.
Thank you. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? It's unanimous. Human Resources. Request to hire educator less than fully credentialed.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion from trustee Gracia, second from trustee Hart. Do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. Student trustee DeRosa Cifuentes.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, abstain, and it's unanimous. I'd like to point out this person will be credentialed at the end of the year. 5, Instructional Services. A, Memorandum of Understanding with Napa County Probation Department.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion from trustee Gracia, second from trustee Hart. Are there any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. Student trustee DeRosa Cifuentes.
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so abstain. It is unanimous. B, Memorandum of Understanding with Napa Valley Farm Worker Foundation.
Move to approve.
Second.
Trustee, a motion from trustee Gracia, second from trustee Hart. Are there any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. Student trustee DeRosa Cifuentes.
Aye.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Abstain? It's unanimous. C, Memorandum of Understanding with Napa County Department of Corrections.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion from trustee Gracia, second from trustee Hart. Are there any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. And student trustee DeRosa Cifuentes? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Okay, it's unanimous. D, Agreement with Challenge Success.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion from trustee Gracia, second from trustee Hart. Are there any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. Student trustee DeRosa Cifuentes? Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, abstain, it's unanimous. 6 is operational services. A, Easy Routing Bus Software.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion from trustee Gracia, a second from trustee Hart. Are there any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. And student trustee DeRosa Cifuentes? Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Abstain? Anti? Against? It is unanimous. BFMO 11.01.2025 agreement with Carpet One Floor.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, a motion by trustee Gracia, a second by trustee Hart. Are there any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. Student trustee DeRosa Cifuentes? Aye. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? It's unanimous. Okay, informational. This is L. Number 1, general services. Curriculum and Student Support Committee. There is a report attached to our, to the agenda. Do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you. Facilities and Technology Committee. There is a report attached to the agenda on this, okay? And do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
C, Finance Committee. We're meeting very soon, but we haven't had one. Okay, D, Policy Committee. There is a report attached to this. Do we have any comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Okay, 2, Business Services, Quarterly Investment Report, September 30th, 2024. Do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
Okay, and B is enrollment report. Do we have any public comments on this?
There is no public comment on this item.
I have a comment on that.
Oh, you have a comment on
I
it?
have
Yes.
a comment on that.
Thank you.
So I'm noticing that ACHS, as I mentioned before, is now the largest high school, where it is over 1,700. Last year, that was, I think it was vintage, that was around above 1,700. And the other two large comprehensive high schools in Napa are now below 1,600. So I think we need to be cognizant of the fact that the decline is real, and that it's very difficult to make up those numbers in Napa, and hopefully we can do some work around, I don't know, just making sure that we're still financially able to support the schools in the way that it is.
Do you think, I'm just wondering, there is a building at American Canyon High School. Is it in use, the sort of extra building?
It's in use. I do see some classes there. I mean,
Okay.
it's not all in use, but
Mhm.
there
The
is
entire
activity.
facility is in use.
I mean, yeah,
There's a lot of
use.
capacity, but
There's just
there's-
capacity.
there's
a lot
There's
of
more capacity.
Yeah, well, I remember before ACHS was built, when Napa High had 2,400 students. And
ACHS was built for about that number, but has never gotten to that number.
Yeah.
Despite being the largest currently.
any other comments about it? All right. C, warrant register for accounts payable checks issued by NVUSD. Do we have any public comments on that?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. 3 is human resources. A, quarterly report on Williams uniform complaint for period ending October 31st, 2024. Are there any public comments?
There is no public comment on this item.
Complaints either.
Okay, no complaints, no comments, great. 4, instructional services, A, 2024-25 local control and accountability plan, known as the LCAP update. Do we have any public comments on that?
There is no public comment on this item.
Thank you. Any comments from you all? And M, additional suggestions and comments from board members and superintendent. Yes, President Emeritus.
Sure. I wanted to say that I had some concerns that were raised by the presentation given by our union representatives. It appears that according to our teachers, we still have lots of growth to be made in our discipline and MTSS processes, and I hope we continue to focus on implementation and standardization of those.
Yes, I agree. And any other comments? Well, I do. I have an article for you all to read, and it's on paper, because people actually do read better on paper, and you can each have one for you. And it's basically in the Atlantic, and it's about how the students at elite colleges are having difficulty finishing a book, a single book. And when I taught advanced placement literature when the earth was cooling, we read at least 10 books. And so I'd like you to read this article. By the way, students who go to elite colleges generally go to elite secondary schools. Lots of private schools there, expensive private schools. So, or, the high-end, suburban, wealthy public schools. So these are the students who are the cream of the crop, and they're having difficulties getting through a textbook or just a book. And there are reasons presented here that have absolutely nothing to do with the science of reading or, not knowing phonics, that sort of thing. It's different, and I suggest you read it. And that's your homework, and there will be a quiz. In fact, we might even have a timed essay on it. Okay, anything else? Anything else? Okay, and then N is future agenda items.
Yep, I was wondering what our new safety official is doing, and I was hoping we could get a progress report on what she's been up to.
I can respond to that. The board set an annual priority around safety. That's one of our 7 annual priorities. And the board will be getting an update at the midterm around the progress that the coordinator for emergency services has made since her start, and the work that we've accomplished related to that priority and that new grant-funded position at midterm, superintendent evaluation midterm.
Great. Thank you. And any other future agenda items? Okay, so I'm going to let President Emeritus Gracia make his favorite motion.
Move to adjourn?
Okay, I've got a motion from Trustee Gracia. I've got a second from Trustee Hart. Student Trustee DeReza Cifuentes. Aye, and all in favor? Aye.